Hey, what's up guys? I'm back with another Brown Dust 2 video for you, and this time around I want to talk about characters and team compositions I recommend to use. Now, I will be recommending them in terms of both early game content but also in regards to late game content, so I'll try to cover both aspects. Before I begin, a fair warning. Those are my recommendations, and you may not agree with them, so take them with a grain of salt. And after the TLDR section, I will try to explain which characters I would go for and the reasoning for it a little bit more in depth. So make your own decisions based on that. So the TLDR is to use physical team Ariness +5 with 4 physical DPS. Any 5-star with multiple dupes will fit inside this comp, but if you don't have any 5-stars with dupes, then instead use the following 4 stars or 3 stars, and I'm assuming all of them are at +5. Cry will be an obvious choice, Ingrid, Wiggle, and the Remnant, but also you can use the Gint. Two of them are actually very similar. Gint actually has slightly higher base attack than Remnant, so he should be doing slightly more damage. So it will depend which type of elemental damage you want to go for in specific content, because this is the green one, the wind, and here is the water, so that will be the main difference between the two. Now, the only exception to the 5 stars is you can use Laffle, the Promise of Vengeance. You get it from actually beating Story Pack 7, and you get 1 copy for each difficulty you beat of Story Pack 7. So you get 1 for normal, 1 for hard, and 1 for very hard. So you'll end up with +2. +2 has 750% attack, which is very high, and he also increases his own attack by 50% with 3 SP cost. It's a 1 target big nuke, so definitely a good option to invest into. And other than that, any other characters with push skills are good too, especially for late game, since their damage will be tied to enemy max HP, and the same thing applies to Ro from Newbie Pass, because her damage also scales with max HP of the enemy. Now, with the TLDR out of the way, let's take, when you're making your decisions, take into account the accessibility of units, and what I mean by that is if they're 5 stars, can you get dupes of them, or if you have dupes of them, and what do you want to do right now on your account. Do you want to fast progress, or maybe do you want to invest into characters that are going to be good late game once you have the highest level gear and dupes, meaning you want to not waste too many resources. So with that in mind, 3-star characters are really good early game, because you will have them at +5 and they will be doing a lot of damage. But the problem is they only can go up to level 60 maximum, while 4 stars can go to 80 and then 5 stars to level 100. So late game, eventually you will want to hop onto all 5-star team minus specific role units that are unique, like Ariness, that is a 3-star since she's a big physical DPS buffer, right? Now, another thing to consider when making decision is the world buff. You can check it above the minimap. When you press it here, you will see right now we have Season of Darkness for 17 more days, and it increases all allies' dark damage by 50%. I wish the game didn't just crash. It's like the most annoying thing that can happen. But it is what it is. So that extra damage for specific period of time could sway your decision if you're on the fence, for example, between two characters and one of them is covered by the damage buff, the other one is not, then maybe you should invest into the one that's currently just stronger for the time being to push the content, right? So that is something to take into account. Now, it's relatively easy to check which character is strong from your current roster. You can just compare the characters and look at their skill, and the thing you're looking at when you click at their skill is how many times it hits and for how much percent. So here Cry, for example, hits 2 times for 200%, so 400% total. That's pretty good damage in comparison to other characters. Of course, there are other things to consider, things like how his skill hit tile set looks like, how much XP it costs, and any extra effects on the skill, like defense reduction, for example. So there are some other things to consider, but in terms of just looking pure damage values, you can quickly tell, okay, 2 times 200, 400, okay, and then you can go to other character like Ingrid, for example, and you see 3 times 160, oh, that's 480, okay, so she does more damage than Cry, right? That kind of stuff. But she doesn't have extra stuff, and she only hits 2 targets, so that's the I guess like the difference between the two characters. Also, she's a 3-star, so she can only get to 60. Cry is 4-star, so up to 80. So again, many things to consider, but for the most part, you can tell. Also, another thing to keep in mind is that some characters will deal true damage on their skill, and what that means is that it bypasses the damage reduction from the enemy. So you always will be hitting those similar numbers all the time, right? Regardless of if the enemy is resistant to physical damage or not, or magical damage or not. Doesn't matter. You're bypassing it, you're doing your damage. But those true damage cannot crit, so that is the downside of it. However, basic attacks can still crit. So, for example, Justia, let me go to her. Justia does true damage on her skills, right? So this will not be able to crit, so it will always hit 3 times for 200 attack with the true damage. It will never crit, but her basic attacks, after you use the skill and you don't have anything else to use and you want to use just basic attack, that can still crit. So that's something to keep in mind. Now that we're done with the tips, I will go over all of the characters. I will first quickly glance over the characters and tell you which ones I recommend, and then I will go over every single character in the roster, all their costumes, and tell you if I think the costume is good or not. So let's start with adding this here and then removing all of those guys from here, and then we can just go from the bottom. I'll probably cover 3 and 4 stars first here, and then 5 stars. Well, 5 stars will be kind of separate thing, I guess, because it's hard to recommend them. So okay, in terms of 3 stars, Beatrice with her true damage, Wiggle with high damage, AoE, Ingrid with good damage, Arines with buffing, very important for physical, Emma, the school version, can push skills are good, Remnant, good damage, Gint, same equivalent of Remnant, Maria, very good magic damage, inline, Jaden, also good magic AoE, Cry, good physical AoE, Samai, very good buffs and also very good magic damage. Lucrezia, SP battery for magic teams, so good. Layla, kind of similar for physical teams. And that's it for 3 and 4 stars. In terms of 5 stars, one of the obvious choices is Lawful Promise of Vengeance, because you get it from, again, story 7, so he's an easy recommendation. Now in terms of other 5 stars, let me go to collection and costumes. So in terms of other 5 stars, I would say that Helena is a no-brainer, especially if you can get her to +4. Then she will be literally the equivalent of Arenas, but for magic teams, so no-brainer. Very good. Other than that, I would say Celia, either of her forms are really good for magic teams, even at +0. I think Sylvia is still decent, even at +0. Ro is very good, even at +0, both of her forms. And I think that's almost it. I think Seer is also worth mentioning, very good tank. I think even at +0 I would use her. And that covers quick recommendations. Right, now with quick recommendations out of the way for both magic and physical characters, let's go over all of them. I will go through 3 and 4 stars from this screen because it will be easier to see them maxed out. That's probably what you will be looking at in terms of damage values. I just want to showcase you what you will be working with. And 5 stars I will go on base forms because unlikely you will have dupes. And of course, like I said before, if you have multiple dupes of 5 stars, they will be worth using. I would say at +3 is probably a fair point where I would start plugging in the 5 stars already. Their damage should be decent, and their SP will be reduced at +3 as well. So, alright, let's start with Carl. Okay tank, but only for physical damage. 2 SP, which is not bad. It's relatively good, but they're just better tanks that do more. But you can force them if need be. Layla, not that great. Relatively low damage in comparison to other units. And doesn't provide anything else. Regenette. The only good thing about her is the unique skill that makes allies focus the target. Other than that, low damage. And there's opportunity cost when you bring her, because instead of her you could have brought another DPS that does a lot of damage. So situationally she might be decent, but for the most part you will not really use her at all. Beatrice, if you don't have any other characters with true damage, I think she's really good. She does actually decent damage, and again, true damage will be useful if you're facing enemies that have damage reduction, which, for example, the second floor of the castle, right? I think there are enemies that want you to use magic teams, but you can force physical teams instead if you have enough damage, or if you're using true damage. So Wiggle, easy recommendation. Both of his forms are okay. This one is not like that amazing. You will primarily use only his base one, which kills him. So it's a 1-turn unit, which is good because most of the time that's the only thing you care about turn 1 with physical teams. Big AoE damage, so, and he has very high base attack, the highest of any other character. If we're comparing the same levels, he can only go up to level 60, so I think there might be some 5 stars at level 100 that overtake him on base attack, but I think he will still rival them. I don't think it will be that far apart, so it's kind of cool. The Fred, He has push ability, but only 50% of max HP. Gives 4 SP, which is not bad. This ability or knockback can actually crit, so if you get 100% crit damage, at least, then and it crits, then it will actually do 100% of max HP. So it can kill. You can basically repair this percentage with crit damage, if you want. So it's not too bad. Ingrid, easy recommendation, high damage, hits 2 targets. Very good unit. Emma, base form not so good because you have to waste 1 turn to buff yourself and do 0 damage, and then the 2 turns after that you can do extra damage. Because of how turns work in this game. I know it says 6, but actually you're only getting it for 2 turns. Well, 3 turns, but the first turn you're just buffing and not doing damage. And then the other 2 turns you can do extra damage with it, but again, physical teams are all about turn 1, so not really great. Her school one though is good because 125 max HP, which is the highest on any character. You get 3 SP, it costs 2, but it pushes 2 squares to the left, which is pretty unique. But definitely, again, good character because of push. Arines, a no-brainer for physical teams, 70% attack for 6 turns, crit rate for 30% for 6 turns, 2 SP, amazing unit, must have. Remnant, he attacks twice, 3 SP to 50, decreases by 50 attack of enemies, and hits 2 targets with skip. Very good damage wise. Gint is the same thing, but in other direction, so his pattern goes to the left. He has higher attack, base attack from what I saw, so if his grow attack is also higher than Remnant, he will actually hit harder than him, which I did not know, but they have both different elements. He's wind, he's water, and he hits to the left, he hits to the right, so depending on situation, one of them might be better than the other, so might be useful to get both of them to like level 40. Level 40 is pretty cheap, in all honesty. After 40 it becomes a little more expensive, but yeah, you can try maybe getting it even using both. Cynthia, not that great because her damage is locked behind a dot damage, but I think she can be usable because magic teams want to go for several turns anyway, so I think her dot actually can pump some decent damage. I like her overall. I don't see anyone using her or recommending her, but I don't know. I would have to play with magic teams. I don't feel good enough to recommend like off meta or off popular picks, but I feel like she might be good. Next is the Julia. She's a healer and not a great healer at that. I don't think she's good at all. There's better 4-star, and even that one I don't think I would recommend because healers are just not great right now. Maria is really good. Good damage for magic unit, hits 3 targets in line. Just good damage unit. Same for Jaden. AoE, good damage, especially for magic unit. His other costume is not that great because it decreases magic damage by 50%. There's not that many magic enemies, so it usually doesn't matter, the damage reduction. He heals also, so he can kind of tank, but yeah, not that amazing. But his magic form is good. Cry, very good physical DPS, a staple pretty much. I think everyone wants to use him, unless you have multiple 5-stars that are just stacked to +5, then sure, Cry will be benched, but his base form is very, very good. X hits hard, reduces defense, is not that costly, and then his school form also really good. 3 SP, only costs 1, pushes 2 targets, 100% max HP damage, and dot for 6 turns. Again, both really good, especially for harder content. Andrew, not as good. I think he's more of a PvP than PvE unit. I don't use him, I don't recommend him at all, to be honest. The Samai, really good for magic teams, especially. Base form, very good damage. She's basically Cry, but for magic. And her school version is a buffer. It only works for one turn, so you have to rebuff every turn with her if you want to keep it up. But yeah, it's still really good. 50% magic and physical, especially if you're doing mixed team comp. Lysian, really good healer. 150 of magic attack and removes dot effects. 2 SP only cost, but the healers are again not strong, so I wouldn't recommend unless you're watching this video later down the line and healers are good, then sure. Next, Lucrezia, really good for magic teams. She's a SP battery. She's not supposed to do damage. She's supposed to buy you time and give you SP. So she hits in plus pattern, makes enemies not able to cast skills, and you get free SP for each target. If you hit 5 targets, that's 15 SP. That's huge. That is fucking huge. So very good unit. Next, Layla, kind of similar but for physical teams as Lucrezia. Less SP though, only 1 for each target. Hits 5 targets in X pattern. Decent damage, 2 times 180. But 5 cost hurts me, honestly. And that's the biggest issue, that it costs 5 and not 4. I think if it was 4, it would have been way better. And finally, Bernie, in my head, one of the worst 4 stars. Like, I really don't like her at all. You get free SP, single target, 2 times 110 damage, so 220 total. Very small damage. And then it makes them not cast skill, but only for 1 turn, so with free SP cost, I don't know, just like it doesn't give you enough things, I feel like. So that's it for 3 and 4 stars. Let's go on to 5 stars now, and I will do it from collection costume page. So let's start at the bottom maybe and go up. So Elenir base form is okay. It doesn't do that much damage, but if you can get dupes of her, I think she will actually be very good, because very low SP, it will go down to 2 with decent damage, and it removes buff effect from enemies. So I think that's the nice thing about her, and her nice use case. If enemies have buffs, you can strip them. Her other form, the B rank idol, kind of similar, but this one prevents use of skills, so another unique kit or unique mechanic you can use to your advantage. So I like her because she's flexible with those extra effects. She hits 3 times in plus, which is nice. It costs 5 though, that's expensive. Goes down to 4 at plus 3, so that's nice. And it hits slightly higher than her base form, so honestly, not too bad. Overall, I like Elenir, but you kinda need dupes with her if you want to pop off. Helena, no-brainer recommendation if you can get her with dupes. Her B rank idol needs plus 4 if you want to be equivalent of Arines. At plus 3, she's okay. I can show you her plus 4 just for the reference. There you go. Plus 4. 2 SP cost, 75% magic attack, heal, 100% magic, and then increase crit rate by 25. Her next upgrade to plus 5 makes it 50% crit rate, so She is just better Arenas at +5. At +4, she's equivalent to Arenas, but for magic teams. I would say she's even better at +4 because she heals as well, all your team. So I would say, yeah, I would say she's probably better at +4 still. So let's go back to the costumes for 5 stars. So yeah, Helena, base form. Also really good, decreases incoming damage and gives you SP. It will cost 1 SP if you get her to +3. And it will increase the damage reduction. Very good for magic teams because you will have her in team anyway because of her other costume. And swap to this one, make everyone tankier, and you gain SP, which your team will need. So again, amazing fucking unit for magic teams. Like, you want both of those forms, ideally +5, and you're cooking with grease in terms of magic teams. Seer, really good tank, probably the best tank, especially if you can get dupes going, because she heals max HP every time she gets hit. So if enemy cannot do more than 15% of her max HP, then she takes no damage. And even if she does take more than 15%, you know, if enemy hits for 20% of her max HP, she heals for 15, so he actually dealt only 5% damage. So very good. Her other form also really good because you can stockpile and get a lot of SP while you tank. So you can maybe start with that and then use this one on the next turn, or the other way around, whichever way you want to do it. Really good. I would probably start with the B rank idol first though, so you can generate SP immediately for turn 2. It will depend though, like what units you use. Next, Elise. I don't think Elise is that good. Her base form is expensive, it doesn't do much damage, and it lowers magic resist, which is pretty fucking weird because she does physical. So I'm not too sure what's up with that. And then her other form gives you SP, does okay damage, and hits 2 targets for free, which is not too bad, but like, I don't know. She's just a weird unit. It feels like almost you want to use her in like mixed composition or something. I don't know. Just weird unit. Not really. I'm not really a fan. Rafina, I think she's not that great right now because there's not barrier enemies, so this uniqueness is not useful right now in PvE. And her other form is just better cry, but you need to have her at +5, so that's gonna be hard. But if you do, then nice, you can definitely use her. Leclis is another tank you can use. She has a taunt, so she forces enemies to attack her, which I think she's the only one that has it. So that's nice. Her other form gives her energy guard and counter, so you can use this on turn 1 maybe, and then use the other one on turn 2, or the other way around, whichever way you do it. Decent option, and obviously it will get way better with dupes. Anastasia, I think overall decent unit. I don't think she's that amazing, but she does give herself crit damage, which is basically doubles damage, right? 100% doubles damage if you crit. So I think late game, when you have like very good gear going and you don't mind like restarting for PvE to get those crits, then yeah, I think she actually might be really good. Just at +0, I don't know. At +0 she still might be good though, I feel like, because of the crit damage that she gets. Because then you can look at it as if I doubled the percentage, right? So I don't know. I think Anastasia might be good. I would have to test her though at some point. Celia to me is a blind recommendation even at +0 for your magic teams, mainly because she reduces attack on her base and magic attack on her other costume. She hits 5 times on this one, 7 times on this one, so she stacks the chain damage quickly. Overall, very good unit, even at +0. Definitely recommend for Magic teams. Alec, decent option if you need a true damage unit, but yeah, true damage. The problem with true damage is it cannot crit. So late game, your units that can crit will out damage units that cannot crit. That's just the truth, and the only time where your unit, the true damage unit, will be better is if A, they're +5 and your other units that you're using are not, or the units you're using are like 3 or 4 stars, then they will probably do comparable damage. Or if the enemy has a lot of damage reduction, which there's not that many right now, but later down the line I think we will get more enemies that will have damage reduction, and then the true damage units will be kings. So I would say Alec is pretty decent. Just late game it will feel weaker than other ones, I feel like, if you invest materials and gear. Leatrice, or Leah, I like her a lot. I don't think she's that great, especially if you don't get dupes. I think she feels like she doesn't do much and she costs a fuck ton, but if you can get her to +5 and give her a good gear, I think she pops off pretty hard because of her AoE, amount of hits, the dot as well. So I like her a lot, but I know she's not great, especially at like +0. Therese is good because she's a push unit, so, and gives you SP, so definitely a good unit. Not much to say here. Eclipse hits decent, but decrease SP, I don't think it works in PvE. Like, I don't think it does anything. Heal is also kind of whatever, because I mean, she ideally is not getting hit, and you're using Helena, and Helena already gives you a heal, so yeah, both of those are kind of wasted for PvE. So you're only looking at the damage, and damage itself is okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. So she's usable. I don't know. I feel like maybe I'm going too hard, because like percent wise, when you compare to other magic units, she doesn't like stand that far behind any of them, to be honest. So yeah, if you don't have better damage options, then Eclipse is not bad. It's pretty decent. Sylvia, I think she's really good. I did not test her yet, especially if you can get her to +5. I think she will pop off super fucking hard. But even at +0, I think she might be decent. 200 counter damage is... that sounds nice. That sounds really nice. She decreases damage by 50% from enemies too, so she's kind of like a bruiser. Not full tank, but yeah, somewhere in between. Just a bruiser. Will do damage and also take damage. Rubia, I don't recommend her that much. Doesn't do that amazing of a damage, and relies on dots for most of the damage, so not that great overall. It's okay though. Alstein, I don't like Alstein that much unless you dupe him, because the SP acquisition is not like, I don't know. I think if you duped him and he gives you 2 SP for each target, then I think we're talking. He maxes out immediately and, you know, prevents skill use. But base +0, not that amazing. Row, amazing 5-star unit. I think one of the best 5-star units at +0. Definitely recommend her base form. You can recruit in after completing story 4, so you can recruit her. Everyone can recruit her. using the 5-star contract. She has a push, which pushes 3 squares, not 2, as most. I think all other pushers do. And it deals 100% max HP, which is good. And dot damage as well, which is nice. And evade. 2 cost. If you get her to +3, 1 cost. Very good. This one is amazing fucking costume. Also gives her evasion like the base one. But this one attacks 5 times, dealing 7% max HP of the enemy, which means, and it can crit, which means you can just stack crit damage on her and crit rate, and she will just one-shot any enemy in the game. Like even like the Bewool that has 60 or whatever thousand HP, well, she can just one-shot it if she has 200% crit damage and she crits on all 5 attacks. She just one-shots. So very, very good unit. I don't see that many people recommending her, but yeah, this newbie pass, you get it from newbie pass, so everyone gets it. And everyone can recruit the base form as well, so you have 2 very good forms of a unit that's good in hard content especially, so definitely recommend. Gray, decent unit, is kind of unique because he deals damage, dot damage based on magic attack and physical attack of enemies, so his base form physical damage and his other form is magical damage of enemy. I think it can be useful in certain scenarios, in harder content especially, when enemy has decent amount of attack but they don't have that much health or something. I don't know, like in some cases I think it might be useful, especially if you're trying to buy yourself time. It's not gonna be a turn 1 thing, but if you're trying to go for a few turns, yeah, you can use him as additional damage for sure. His B rank manager costume is not that great. Pretty low damage, decreases defense, hits 3 targets in line. It's kind of similar to Cry, but just lower damage. If you max him out, then maybe. But other than that, nah, not that much. Recommendation from me. Shera, all of her costumes are decent, but all of them don't do amazing damage if you don't have dupes, and that's the problem with most 5-stars. So if you have dupes, sure. If you don't have dupes, then you probably can find better options at 4-star and 3-star. Justia, all of her forms are doing true damage, minus her gluten form, which I don't like. I didn't try it, so I don't know exactly how it works, but it doesn't sound that great. Consumes enemies' current HP by 10% and then heals for that damage consumed. 10% of max HP of 5 enemies doesn't sound that amazing, so I don't know. Maybe if it grows, the damage grows with copies, and then maybe it would be decent. This is like more tanky costume for her because it also decreases damage, so I don't know. Hard to say, honestly. It's hard to say. It's very weird. Rest costumes are kind of whatever. True damage, just pretty low. Alec has higher percent than this one, but you get both of those for free just playing main story, the first chapter, so you know, you have decent physical true damage option, just not that amazing. If you obviously went for last banner for Kendo and maxed it out, then sure, like, but that's gonna be true for any 5-star that's maxed out. And finally, Lawful. I think he's pretty good actually, even on base form. He's not too bad. Like, percent is maybe not that big, but he also increases his attack by 50%, and it stacks with any other buffs, so that's pretty good. His base form is decent, you get it for free. His Promise of Vengeance, like I talked about, you get dupes for beating story 7 up to +2, which is 750%, or yeah, I think 750% damage, which is very nice. And it still increases attack by 50, so very strong nuke. This Dark Knight version also pretty cool. Energy guard equal to 125 of max HP, and decreases physical damage by 50%, which sure, it doesn't cover magic damage, but there's not that many magic damage dealers right now, so pretty decent tank option, honestly, and it's cheap too. So you have one very good nuke, you have one good damage dealer, and then you have one good tank option as well, so it's pretty versatile. This form I don't really like too much, because the damage is pretty low, 65 times 3, so not even 200 in line, 3 targets, not that high, costs 4 SP, probably, I think it's probably the weakest of the costumes. So yeah, that's it. That's all of the characters that are in the game right now and costumes. I hope my recommendations helped. I didn't want to go too long with descriptions of all of the patterns and damage dealing, but I think you got the gist of it. Basically 5 stars, not that amazing until you start getting dupes of them. That's basically the case. I think maybe if you get to level 100, then it might be comparable to even +5 4-star or 3-star unit that's can only be level 60 or 80. I think then comparisons could be closer. Maybe then you only need like 1 or 2 dupes, or maybe even at 0 dupes you already are similar or slightly overtaken in terms of damage to +5 4-star or 3-star. So yeah, just look at the damage numbers, and if you want to really compare the like after you reach 100 or something, then just take your units to the field and see. Just see the numbers when they crit. See the number on your 5-star, that's level 100. See the number on your 4-star or 3-star, it's level 80 or 60, and you'll be able to tell. You can also calculate the damage by hand if you want, but it's probably easier for most people just to see the number in game and when you fight the enemies, so you can quickly compare. But yeah, you got the gist of it in general the rule. So I hope the video helped you, and I hope you can make some decisions in terms of which units you want to use and which units you want to aim for late game. So that's it from me, and until I see you guys next time, peace.